Hello and welcome to the Car Podcast with Chris Harris and his friends. It's been an interesting day. No. Wait there. It's been an interesting day so far because I failed to turn up this morning for the recording for episode 63. There you go, Mr. Cooper. If you wait, I will give the information. It's not my first rodeo. So here we go. 63, which is mathematically an important milestone for us because in a previous life, we did 62 podcasts, and in this new life, we've done 63. So it feels like we've got further than we did before. Patience
Only
is
just.
Virtue is a grace. Grace is a naughty girl who didn't wash her face. So let's begin this week. I've got the agenda somewhere. Where is the bloody thing? Here we go.
What is it?
I've got a picture of my dog, and I've got the agenda, which is thorny issue: salt spreading. The warning light that comes on the motorways, the dreaded end of year enjoyment. It's all gone. Can you take your car out again because it's going to rust? What can we do to keep up the pleasure in these dark times, these early nights? I'm going to go to Neil Clifford first.
Well, this was my little idea because 5:15 on the M25 about a week ago, when it suddenly all got cold, and it suddenly all. I haven't seen a salt spreading machine yet, actually, but you start to see that. You start to see those yellow, horrible warning lights, and you're like, "Fuck, that's the end of pleasure." You get super paranoid about even driving your cars anywhere. You think the next day you're going to go out and there's going to be a little pile of rust and shit where your car was. The truth is, maybe it's not that bad. I don't know how to think about this. Oh, hello.
Hello, Francis.
There's Francis. But maybe there should be a car wash. I wish there was a car wash that you could drive through and it cleaned all the bottom and the underneath of your car, because I'd feel much happier
And
about
cleaner.
them driving around in the winter, because it's really bloody annoying. And I thought maybe we're the only country to do this salt shit thing. And I Googled it, or actually ChatGPT'd it now, and it seems like everybody does it. But when I was chatting to my friend
There's one country that doesn't do it.
well, my friend Massimo told me they don't do it in Italy, but then they do, I think.
They do.
Up in the Alps.
There's one country famously that doesn't, and that's why you should always buy cars from Japan, because they don't salt the roads.
That's right.
Ah,
Point of housekeeping, just if you're not watching this, you're listening to this. The amazing and lovely Francis Bourgeois has just joined me because I'm recording this on location from our train television program because I failed to make it this morning. Production have given me an hour to record now, no pressure whatsoever. And Francis is here as well. He's just made me a cup of tea and he's sitting next to me. He's going to chime in because he was a bit of a star last time.
You do look like you are dressed for Guantanamo Bay.
yeah.
Well, so you can say that about Francis. With me, that carries some problems because of the way I look. You've got to be careful there. So,
Yeah.
Neil Clifford, finish off your little salt ramble.
Well, I just think I'm always an optimist and always tried to be upbeat and always tried to be happy because we could be dead. But actually, when you see that sign on the M25, it does give you that little, oh shit, that means I've got to, I've got to worry about my cars because they're all going to fall to pieces. But I don't know whether it's true, whether they do or not. Maybe Mr. Cooper can help us.
I thought they both looked like porn star car wash attendants, actually.
What do you spend your time watching, for God's sake?
Salt spreading. Can I say I actually find the expression salt spreading sort of wrong. It sort of conjures up this sort of rather malignant sentient being that is a swarm of salt that all by itself has decided to go and do something. I don't think salt's that clever. Spreading salt, we are spreading salt. It's a bit like the thing I tried telling the other day. This might just be a peculiar British thing, where the syntax is all wrong. I was driving around the M25 the other day, and there was a sign overhead gantry where there's lots of pixels. You could put lots of little letters and stuff. It wasn't like an economy drive of pixels. Big thing that said A1 closed, Sandy. And I thought, why have they closed the A1 because it's sandy? Where's the sand come from? What they meant, obviously, was, for those not in the UK or Bedfordshire, is there is a town called Sandy. But anyway, so I kind of, I don't like it because it does convey this slightly unhelpful, unpleasant, hostile sort of sense. There is a technique which we can all use, which is when you see it, you know you're probably going to be faster than the truck that's doing the and under that heading, those trucks doing the at the back where this little thing is rotating like that. Actually, that's exactly what it does, isn't it? Like that. And it rotates the salt out. As you get closer, you can start to hear it in the wheel arches. Go and get a cup of tea.
I haven't seen them. I think they put the signs up before they send the trucks out.
Well, if they are in front of you, you will start to hear it in the wheel arches. And at that point, you're getting closer, because what you don't want to do these days is get closer. You cannot overtake a truck distributing salt, because it's now ballistic. It's like somebody firing a shotgun out of the back of your porn star car wash or Guantanamo Bay bus drive. So no, if you feel it in the wheel arches, pull off in service station, have a cup of tea, you get back on, you can complete the journey with it.
Do you think new cars are all prepared anyway, so we're okay? It's about the old cars we should worry about more, or is it?
I think with new cars, they've got so many things at the front, these automatic assistance things. They're all going to get shattered. All those little big eyes in the front of the car for your cruise control and stuff. They're just going to get pinged. So I don't think I think
we're conflating two issues here. On the one hand, we're talking about corrosion. I think Neil's coming from the underside corrosion argument.
I am.
Chris, they're two important points, and Chris is coming from the sort of the damage to the bodywork and the bright work.
Yes,
Autocar would have called it in 1982. And I think they're the two things we worry about. So I think they're different, because the one is an immediate concern. Like when you're driving down the motorway, imagine you're driving down the motorway in Lola, right? You've just, she's all beautiful. Eyelashes have been done. She's had a facial. And then you're presented with a truck that's potentially giving you bits of grip with a closing speed of 70, 80 miles an hour to the front of your car. You don't want that to happen. But also, what you don't want to do is use the car once in December and think, I'll put it away for the winter now. You've not washed the underside.
Yes, that's the thing.
When you come back to it in April, you would not. It's like you would not believe the damage that can be done to the car. You'll think, oh my God, has someone been in here spraying it with saline solution every week? But if you don't wash that salt off, it's terrible.
It's important.
You can't really get into the middle, or can you? If you use your jet wash, do you think the jet wash is capable to just get rid of all your salt?
You need a device. Have you seen that thing? You can Google it. It's like a attachment for your jet wash, which has got like a bend in it. It's got a little rolly wheel, so you can roll it under the car with a little upward jet and just like do an upside down raking thing with your new gadget underneath the car.
Who's been on an off-road driving day thing?
I did it with that Ineos.
So what you need is a proper chassis wash rig. So what they do is you drive the car up a ramp, and it's a high ramp, so you can get right underneath and do a proper chassis wash.
Yeah.
And that's what Neil, you should have one of those at home, because the peace of mind, if you give it a good wash underneath, you don't need to worry too much.
I think that would be a business opportunity, though.
We should set one up.
Yeah. So Manish, would you drive Lola in December?
Well, it's funny. I read this a slightly different way.
That's my job.
Just going back 2 podcasts. I mean, as you pointed out, that we basically have 2 seasons now, wet and hot. So the first thing is, I don't think December now is December when I was 10 years old at all. I mean, I can't remember the last time I actually saw a salt spreader. Certainly coming out of central London. I haven't been, up north a lot. And I like the last part of the question, which is, what can we do to keep up the pleasure? And for me, I think if you're quite heightened and you say, okay, I really want to drive my car this winter when I get a moment. You know, we get these beautiful anticyclonic days in the winter. You know, the sun comes up, it's a cloudless sky, it's freezing cold, but it's dry. And I think, you know, you get your sunglasses, you go and sit in the car, you let it warm up so it's nice and warm inside, or she's nice and warm inside. And you go for a drive that actually, I would go for a daytime drive as well. You try to get back before it gets dark. You go on a lovely, you know, go for a couple of hours, maybe a little 1 hour pit stop to grab
How do you know there's not salt on the road that's been?
Well, I mean, I think that, you know, you're smart enough to have read the weather forecast a few days in advance. You know, if it's snowed or if there've been ice warnings. And I think, you know, but you have to take a chance. As Chris said, especially something like Lola. This is my first winter with her. And I have thought about this. I mean, I have thought about this. Part of the service that looks after her cleans her. You know, once a month I get a complete valet. And this was the conversation I was going to have. I've got a 25-year-old car. You know, imagine, you know, she's been inspected. There were a couple of little points that I hope have been addressed. But you're quite right. I think if I go out, if I'm forced to go out for whatever reason after there's been some snow or, you know, roads have been salted, you bet. I think Chris is exactly right. What I can't do is just leave her in the garage until, you know, we get that kind of March sunshine.
That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
You can generally tell if the road's been gritted because the salt absorbs moisture. So if the road is actually properly dry and not dusty, it's in other words not residually damp, you probably know you're safe because there's no salt on it, which is keeping that moisture, which is one of the reasons why I generally think gritting roads is often self-defeating. Because unless there's actual falling snow, which would help you with, or freezing rain or actual black ice, the grit just makes the road slipperier more of the time because you have to wait for the rain to wash it off. Otherwise, the grit in the tarmac just attracts moisture and it's slippery as a slippery thing.
Could I just ask you a question, Mr. Cooper? We've been on a convoy with you. I know I didn't make it all the way, but you have this habit of every time you stop for a cup of tea, taking a whole shed load of cleaning materials out of your boot and cleaning your car from headlight to that.
Yes.
Do you do that in the winter as well?
More so.
So every time you stop, you will just clean your car.
Yes. I had the links problem this morning when the car's all frosted up. It's very, very early in the morning. You've got to get very early into the office because you're doing a podcast.
I know that feeling.
And then the windscreen's all frozen. So you defrost the windscreen a bit because you don't know where the spray shit is. So you're sat there for 10 minutes trying to wait for it to warm up. But then the headlights are frozen and you fucking can't see anything for the first 4 miles because there's ice all over the bloody lights.
Yeah.
I think I've got a few things to summarise this with. First of all, I'm pretty gung-ho when it comes to using cars, and I've somehow got a reputation for not caring about bodywork and stuff. Some of that's fair, but I'm scared of salt. I have had a vehicle that I used. No, it's worse. I came to get a car out of a shed one spring and was horrified at the condition the bodywork was in, particularly the rougher edges of the bodywork. And I blamed everyone. I blamed the landlord of the unit, but then I had to think back to when I last used the car, and I pulled it out and used it inadvertently in December, not thought about it. I didn't wash it off. So you're absolutely right to be terrified of leaving salt on the underside of a car. It does unbelievable things to components. It's so aggressive. So the two ways around that are, I agree with everything Chris Cooper said and Neil and Manish said, but a really good session of rain is great. If all you need to do is know that it rained really hard for a couple of days, and you can go out. That washes all the salt off the roads. You can go ahead. So rain is your friend. As for I used to quite like playing what I would think in my head was Grit and Jeopardy. You've got to be careful.
But if you're really thinking hard, so you actually don't move.
It says my internet's just gone. Can you hear me or not?
It's frozen.
He's back.
You're there.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Fantastic. You said, but rain is your friend.
The rain is your friend. Come in. And I think the second one is Grit or Jeopardy, obviously. Grit or Jeopardy, which is I used to play it. I still play it now, which is if you get, an inch off the bumper of the car in front and just cheat as far across the right as possible, can you save the front of your car? Totally irresponsible. I wouldn't say that I've ever done it, but I have to say I have. You try and get behind something, an HGV or something. Normally, the outcome isn't as bad as you think. But I've done a few windscreens in my life, I have to say, on the back of a Gritter.
Yes.
But it does signify. I don't think it signifies the end of fun, but it signifies the beginning of a time when you need to be a bit ingenious. Just to maybe think about what you might be able to do.
But sorry, I'm a bit obsessed with this. If you've got a car like a 4x4 that is sort of your winter car, and you put your nice car away and you drive your thing, should you still? You still really should be. This is consumer advice.
Yes.
Be jet washing that once a week if there is salt around.
Well, I'll answer that. So if you've got an older car, what you should have done is prepared the car and just wax oiled it, or just if you get someone to do a proper coat of wax underneath the car, you really have no worries. Just do it once a year, but you really do need to have done that. And it's an over component as well, springs and stuff like that. Every roll bar, just get everything covered in that stuff. And there's Wurth, WURTH, do a very good spray-on product. That's fantastic for this kind of stuff.
Or you can go to the poor man's jet wash after a really, really big dump of rain, which is usually under a railway bridge or a railway arch where the drains got filled. So there's a good couple of inches, and just drive it through that big puddle so the water's over, just because eventually it'll be cleanish water and it'll do most of the underside. It won't be so claggy and so forth.
And another one I was taught is find a local Ford. If there's a local Ford,
I was going to say Ford, yeah.
You could just drive through and just up to the middle of your wheel and just drive through slowly, and that will clean all the salt off. So there are little tricks out there, right?
Yeah.
Are you eating a chocolate? That's the most crunchy noise I've ever heard.
Someone in production has just worked out that has just handed me either a multi-pack of twirls or an individual Star Bar. That's my favourite.
But you had the ultimate comestible there a minute ago. You had a Tunnocks tea cake.
I did see that tonic.
It belongs to one of the guys. This is a charity, this place. It belongs to one of the guys that works here. It became here and working for free on the locomotive we're restoring. And I nicked his Tunnocks tea cake. I think he'd probably kick my head in. So
he's Scottish, because it's like having a Scottish passport, one of those.
Tea cakes.
Imagine how strong they are. They're Scottish and they use implements like this.
Yeah.
That is a spanner. For those of you who can't see, that is a King Dick. And if that was your aforementioned, you'd be a very lucky boy indeed.
Look at the nuts on that.
I know. Right, let's move on.
Talking of girth, someone sent me a piece of a Formula One car.
Neil Clifford is holding a wooden box used for just holding wine.
McLaren sent me this.
Is that a gearbox? I think it's a bit of a gearbox, isn't it?
Right.
Oh, dearie me.
Petrol prices. Petrol prices. Right, I'm just going to say petrol prices. We're recording this the day after, I shouldn't say it, but Rachel, who might work in the accounts department, has delivered her magnum opus. So let's go to Manish. Tell me what you think, Manish.
Well, I'm going to make very few comments about the budget, other than to say I love listening to Evan Davis. I listen to PM basically every day, and he tends to do Mondays and Thursdays. Occasionally he does Fridays. Today, he was talking about the budget, and the one point he's been making for a very long time about the switch to EVs is that petrol gives the Chancellor £25 billion a year in duties. That is the hole you've got to plug if you decide tomorrow that all petrol cars and diesel cars are going to be banished forever. And I'd like to talk about the flip side of that, which is the 3 pence per mile on EVs. It doesn't plug the petrol hole, but he thinks that this is obviously the beginning of the wedge that is going to come and have to plug that petrol hole as we reduce the number of petrol cars and replace them with EVs. Now, I have no idea how long that's going to take, but Evan at least was positive about the fact that although it's unpopular, although we were discussing on the group chat, how do you measure it? Although a couple of people I know said, well, isn't that a license to just sort of clock cars digitally? Because it's going to be very difficult to police it. I guess you're going to have self-certify, and presumably they'll check with your garage when you MOT it. There'll be some digital way of check. Who knows? Honestly, who knows? It's so complicated.
But that won't be expensive at all to administer.
No, not at all. Not at all. Absolutely. It'll be like the NHS digital software we've all been waiting for now 35 years. I think of course it's an absolute injustice. I live in central London. I see what we pay for petrol in central London. You go out 10 miles and you're paying, 20 pence less a litre. You go on a motorway, you're paying way more. I've heard the same argument applied to EVs. If you can plug it in at home overnight on a sort of low tariff, you pay X. You do it on a motorway, service station, you pay 10X. It's, I guess, should we, the question was, it's a piss take, but I mean, should we legislate? Should government regulate this? I think it's really difficult. I think governments kind of prove repeatedly that whenever they chuck a bit of regulation at something, they basically completely screw it up. It's whack-a-mole with them. They whack something and something else appears somewhere else. So the short answer is I don't think they should regulate, at the pump prices. I don't think they should. I don't think they should.
I'm gonna chime in with something here, and it sounds crazy. I think this is the best thing in the budget, and I'll tell you why. It's ill thought out. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I'm not sure how you police it, but it's not the alternative, which is having to have a box in your car that says how far you've gone, what you're doing, what your name is. And that's the greatest fear for all of us, I think, is the moment they do that. It
could end up being that. But you're right. Right now, it's not.
The fact that it's not that, we should all be very, very grateful for, I think.
Because in China, they wouldn't even have the conversation. The car would already be talking to the administrator in the state today. Probably is happening today.
So that's my opinion. What do you think, Neil?
Well, there's a few little strands here. This commenced this discussion point before the pay-per-mile electric thing. This commenced Chris Cooper filling up his sausage, as they say, in St Albans, and he was, I think, on 1.58 per litre, and I was at a Shell, and I was also at a Shell in Chesham, and he said, "Oh my God, you're 1.75 per litre, and I'm 1.58 per litre, and we're 9 miles apart, not central London, not on an M25, not on a motorway." That's quite...
I was actually probably closer to the M25 than you were, which is why I was so shocked.
Yeah. And actually, and I didn't catch the detail on it, but obviously I was listening to the budget, as most of us were, and Rachel did announce something around the control and studying of potential rip-off pricing on petrol, actually. Some sort of commission or some sort of process about ensuring that the petrol prices are managed in a better way. I don't know what that detail is. I'm sure someone will tell us in the comments what that said. And it's probably 2029 anyway, so who really cares? But I think that price control is obviously very difficult. And I'm a capitalist and I'm a retailer, and therefore I'm sort of, it should be supply and demand in general. But the thing is with petrol, it is a total essential.
Yeah, and it's a commodity product.
And I do get the feeling that maybe it's some companies or stations do take the piss a bit, and you've got no choice, have you? You can't drive and lose a tank of petrol to go and get petrol that's a bit cheaper. So I do wish, and maybe Rachel's introduced this, there was a process where we can manage it a bit better. I mean, the cost of petrol on the motorways sometimes is really quite ridiculous, isn't it? Those 2 or 3 on the M1, I almost don't look. I'm a bit like a dog that's been told off. I don't look at the price because I'm like, I'm just going to be so angry and pissed off. And I don't like being angry and pissed off if it says £2.2 or whatever some of these prices are. On the issue of the electricity thing, I probably haven't got a choice. And if you do 10,000 miles, what's that? 300 quid. I suppose that's half the price of tax. I'm sure it's going to every single year going to go up to 4p, 5p, 6p, 10p, 20p. It's going to. I don't suppose they have got a choice, really.
Chris Cooper.
So I sort of think there's a bit of asymmetry here, isn't there? We talked a while ago about the FCA's investigation into car finance. And the FCA has recently opined to say that essentially half of all agreements since 2007, in its opinion, are probably illegal. And therefore, harm has been done and compensation is due to the customer. And there's a big fight going on right now behind the scenes between the big lenders, many of which are owned by big banks, and the FCA to say that is not what the Supreme Court said. Part of the details of that and where it will land for a minute. But all of that says there's an extraordinary amount of time and money and effort being expended by the FCA to try and bring the tiniest margins of fairness. Meanwhile, down the road at the bloody filling stations, it's a total free-for-all. It's a total free-for-all. And if the test is harm, in other words, somebody has paid more than they needed to because of a distance in expectation and less than perfect information. And, if you took the FCA's argument about car commission, what you would see, I think the comparison would be when you went to the one in St Albans or Chesham, it would say there's one in St Albans, it's 158. You could go there instead if you wanted to. Don't say I didn't tell you.
Yes.
That is the logical comparison. And of course, in the absence of that, in fact, a few years ago, on the motorways of Great Britain, there used to be signs saying, here's the price in this, before you come off the motorway, here's the price this one, and here's the one down the road. Funny enough, they were sort of all the same.
In France.
When did they do that in the UK? I don't remember that in the UK. When was that?
It was a few years ago. I'm sure I might have dreamt it.
It's in France. They definitely do it in France, but I've never seen it in the UK.
It might have been when I was with Brian Blessed the other day.
yeah.
I might have dreamt that.
In France.
So if you take that comparison of what you'd see if the FCA had its way on everything, then you say, actually, it is a bit of a piss take. Big dick.
So
he sorted out.
I mean, the fuel sounds. I don't look at the cost of fuel. I just don't look at it. I think it's so.
Is it like a pint of milk?
Yeah, I just don't. It's
like a bread.
It's a cost of my life that terrifies me, and I need it. You say it's a commodity. I need it. History tells you and experience tells you that if you go around hunting for fuel prices, you probably spend as much on the fuel that you used trying to save money than you did on the saving of finding cheaper fuel. I've also become a fuel snob since this podcast. Doing this podcast, I've become so much more sensitive to fuel grade, and I don't buy the green British petroleum product anymore unless I really have to. It's just not as good.
It's
so I think if you're already buying good quality petrol, you're paying a premium anyway. And I think the only other bit that's interesting for me is I've got this Alpina diesel, which just becomes more and more amazing as a daily car. Euro 6 compliant, under £25,000, 170 miles an hour, the right size. Should you use that performance diesel or not? I just stick any old derv in it and it seems to go like stink. What does the fancy diesel bring me?
It makes you feel better.
I'm sure that's the same as the petrol.
Oh, the petrol. If you've got something like a really an M5 CS and you put the BP 97 in and then run it on V-Power Shell, the difference you feel the difference. I mean,
it knocks the time. It's got lower with petrol.
You couldn't be more wrong, Neil Clifford, on that. Well, I love you to bits, but it's just so much quicker and urgent.
It's like having different tyres, Neil.
Yes, exactly.
It's exactly like that. Diesel's a bit different. I actually would like somebody to write into us to say, is there actually a scientific, people in lab coats have written about this stuff, to say, because the rating on it, if you look at the super unleaded is E5,
Yeah.
and non is E10. It's got more ethanol in it. There's a different BS number on it as well. Diesel, super diesel and normal diesel, all the same numbers. So it can't technically be that different. I think the super diesel has got more stuff in it which cleans the engines. I don't know. But I even in my Defender, because I love it, when I have to fill up, I will go somewhere where I know there's a delicious supply of super diesel, because it makes me feel better that I've done right by my Defender.
Yeah. I get that.
I was led to believe it was about detergents and other things. So
that's what I think. Yeah.
It might make your engine last longer, but I'm not sure I believe that. Right, let's move on.
Now I drive it.
You can never shake the car addiction. It's there forever. Why is this? And how did it start for you? Let's go to Manish first.
I think it's a beautiful question, actually. For me, it really began with moving to England. You know exactly how I did it now. But the
This is
thing
when
about
you didn't vanish.
Wait there.
exactly. Uh-oh.
That was me vanishing. That was me vanishing.
Neil is wearing a box. So the thing about India was a lot of motorcycles when I was a kid, and basically just Marutis and Morris Oxfords, ambassadors. And the sheer wonderment, can you just imagine being almost 5 and you see every single car in London that you can just imagine? So, you know, you're completely used to 2 shapes. That's it. Those are all the cars. And there was no Observer's book of automobiles or top trumps in India at the time. I just remember being utterly fascinated by the shapes of the cars. I mean, it was just, you know, every single, I told you about Dad's Morris, but I remember the first time I saw a Ford Capri on the road. I remember seeing, you know, the Rover 3500, the old police version. I remember
Fastback, or the one before that?
The one before that.
P6.
The P6, exactly. I remember the first time I saw a Mercedes. It was near Baker Street. And I mean, I couldn't believe this. And then the very, very first time I saw a Rolls Royce on the road, and then the thing that absolutely killed me, when my stepmother took us to the Earl's Court Motor Fair in 1976, and I saw a Countach and an Espada and an Urraco. I could not tear myself away. And then after that, the Observer's Book of Automobiles, the first one I had was 1976.
Yeah.
Then the top trumps that arrived after that. Then as we've talked about, brochures, just car brochures, the smell, the touch, the gloss. And then the crazy bit, either your dad or your friend's dad or mum would buy a new car. And, you know, when you saw a new car, they just got inside it. The smell, you just saw this flawless paintwork. I mean, it was just, these things become elemental. These things become the tiny building blocks that will just never, ever change. And it's really funny that the older I've become, you know, almost the harder sometimes it is to reach that wonderment, but occasionally you do reach that wonderment again. And it's for me, it's like being 4 years, 11 months old. That period from basically 5 to when I was 11, it was the formation of my universal set of concepts of what is a car. You know, that one looks quick, that one doesn't. I think that's why I'm so obsessed with wedge cars. It's just, you know, they're the I Dream of Jeannie, the Barbara Eden of good looking. Yeah, look at that.
Plexiglass.
There is just something about that. And it's an addiction. There's no doubt about it. And you know, it does. As Francis was saying last week, that, you know, that leads to car spotting. And car spotting is a lot easier than plane spotting. You can have a little notebook. You can sit down, write down registration numbers and the engine size if they do badge them at the back. And oh my God, I just, you know, literally sitting there and going, well, what's the difference between a Daimler and a Jaguar? and sitting down and looking at that bonnet, and looking at the grill, and looking inside. I mean, it was just, and also the final thing, I guess, was also when we were kids, we watched television in a different way. And we've talked about it. TV cars, goodies and baddies, what did the professionals drive? What did the Avengers drive? What do these people drive? Starsky and Hutch. You could just build a show on cars. Kit. These are the things, I think, that they get inside you, they sit in your blood, and it just never goes. They're like good plastic microparticles, aren't they? They're inside you, and I don't want them ever to be leached out.
Neil.
We've touched around this subject before, haven't we? And you really start to sort of search a bit serious and a bit deep inside yourself a little bit, don't you? Because where did it all start? I've only really had one shit thing happen in my life, and I ended up without a father, age 4, which was quite a pain in the arse, actually. But ever since then, life's been good. And the reason I mention that is because I did end up having a few what were called uncles.
That's so good.
And my brothers will kill me for this, but bless my mum. She had a terrible fucking few years.
Yeah.
And she met people at the bingo, and they were uncles, and they used to come round with these cars, right? And it was before Top Trumps, because my obvious memory is Top Trumps, but I remember a 3-litre Granada coupe.
Oh, the Ghia coupe.
Yeah. I think it was a Mark II, because it wasn't a console, it was a Granada.
Yeah.
A metallic blue with the vinyl roof, and the windy sunroof and the velour, 3-litre with the extra dials in the car. And I sort of thought, I don't really want to fucking know you, Mr. Uncle, whatever your name was, but I really would like to go in your car, because that is really exciting. And I suppose it's all about, we are all dreamers a bit, aren't we? And we like to take ourselves to our own little places and dream. And in Portsmouth, you couldn't really go car spotting. There wasn't there was a lady with a lavender XJ, an E-Type, with that V12 badge and the 4 exhausts. So I used to walk the long way home just to see whether she was parked outside the house and it wasn't in the garage, basically just to see that V12 badge. I walked an extra bloody 15 minutes home from school just so I could see the bloody car and the badge.
What did the speedo go up to?
160.
That's just so cool.
Really know, but it's something like that. So I think it really is something that, I don't know whether you're born with it, the sort of love of mechanical things, or you're a dreamer, or the fact that there are 2 Ferrari Daytonas, one plexiglass and one non-plexiglass, inside this packet of Top Trumps. That, for me, I could spend hours looking at those numbers and the speed and the revs and the V12. I didn't really even know what V12 meant, for Christ's sake. I'm not sure I do now, really. 4-stroke. I mean, what does that mean? But I used to sit under my bed with my torch under the covers, looking at this, age 7, 8, 9, dreaming of, I had 50,000, 100,000, what 10 cars will I buy? It is an addiction, but it's my third space in life. Got my lovely family, lucky. I've got my bloody job that is wonderful, but in the middle, I've got this car thing, and I can just go away and dream, and I adore it.
I think, yes, both Manish and Chris, as Neil have summarised it well there. Mr. Cooper.
Suck, squeeze, bang, blow.
4-stroke.
Sucks it in, squeezes it, ignition goes off, bang, and it blows out the exhaust.
What's a 2-stroke then? Suck, bang?
It's squeeze, bang, suck, bang, squeeze, blow, at the same time. That's why it's sort of less efficient and messier, because it's sort of sucking in exhaust, and somebody will tell me I've got that completely wrong.
For those of you who've just joined the podcast, this is a podcast about cars. Chris Cooper, can you please answer the question?
My earliest, it's funny, this one. I don't know that it's, well, I can't tell because, I said before, my brother and I were adopted when we were very, very young. So I don't know. What I do know is that even though my father was an engineer, and very, very interesting and interested engineer, he wasn't really that into cars. And I always remember my mum and dad saying that my brother and I would stand on the back seat of a car in the days when the law didn't really concern itself with the position you assumed in the car or the direction you were facing, or the extent of restraining or otherwise that was being applied. And we'd point out the window and just say, by goes. And they worked out that we were pointing at cars. They thought because they're going by or whatever we were doing. So mum and dad always said to me and my brother that we were obsessed with cars. I wrote down this morning, I said, can I remember all of the registration numbers because lots of complicated reasons. And my father died a couple of years ago, and I lost all the photographs that he had. Just throw it down the pub another day. So I don't have any photographs of any of this stuff. But I can remember the number plates, 860 GLK. That was a Mark II Jag, but the Daimler version with the 250 V8. Poor man's GTO, I guess you'd call it now. TKN 281N was a fern green Ford Consul 2.5L estate. WKJ849S was a Mark II Granada with the wedgie bit at the front in that beautiful sort of bronzy reddy sort of colour. GKN77V was a full Granada gear. I thought we'd all died and gone to heaven. It was 2.8, not injection. So the small, it was like Bahama Gold, I think, with chocolate velour.
Mark II.
Mark II. So the sort of the pointy front, square boot, not the Sweeney one. And then RKM113W was an SD1 Rover 3.5. And then A297JDD, just before he retired, was the facelift, not quite so nice looking, and the pod for the instruments was bigger.
Yeah,
didn't look as cool. The thing about when your uncle got a new car, I got. You look back and you think you never understand things when you're younger, do you? I got really badly bullied when I was younger, quite a lot. And I hated going to Scouts. Because I got bullied. But I went to Scouts because I wanted to see the car that whoever's dad was giving us a lift home that Friday night was driving. And it was the high point of my week was who's got a new car, a new company. Is it a Cortina XL or GXL, or is it auto or manual, and which one? And because you're 10 years old, you don't know what gearboxes are or what it's like to push a pedal or all those kind of things. So we must have been obsessed because that was kind of the high point of the week, was seeing the dials and how different cars smelled, not just because they were different people, but they just almost the colors of the dashboard and the lights sort of, that's different. It sort of almost smells different. So I don't think it is there forever. I mean, it's a great question, Neil. This is Neil's question. It's a great question. It's in there forever. And Lynn and I had a week off week before last. Went down to Cornwall. We're both completely knackered. So we just watched Netflix and Apple TV stuff. It was dark in the afternoon. It's really, really lovely. Just sitting there doing nothing other than watching. And there's a series on at the moment. Is it called Cemetery Road? It's Mick Herron, the guy who writes Slow Horses. It's on Apple TV. It's got Ruth Wilson and Emma Thompson on it. It's quite good. We haven't finished it yet. Emma Thompson's character drives a Citroen DS. What a cool car. It actually looks quite a nice one. I've tried Googling to learn more about this DS. And then said, are you Googling to find out what happens in? I said, no, I'm Googling to find out more about Emma Thompson's character Citroen DS. And she said, you are terminally beyond help.
I think we all are.
Long may it continue.
I wrote a book a couple of years ago, and I remember the publisher saying, I'm not going to really ask you to do too much here, but you need to tell the audience where it came from, the genesis of this obsession with cars, which you've sort of made a living out of. So I did. Come in, boss. And I think I remember I managed to define it really. It was toy cars. I think a lot of us, it begins with toy cars.
Yeah.
Top Trumps is a similar situation, but toy cars, brumming was massively important to me.
Matchbox.
And then how that would translate into other behaviours. I just remember always wanting to be in a car. I wanted to be sitting in one of my parents' cars when it was on a driveway, pretending to push the pedals. Always used to push the pedals, and when they were carburetor fed, obviously they'd go, "Can you stop doing that? We can't start the car when you come back to it." I'd flood everything by pushing the throttle pedal down, and I just wanted to be in and around them. The reason I'm here is this is an extension of cars for me. It's my safe space. I'm safe in a car.
Yeah.
I love being in a car. I'm more likely to be happy in a car. So I know where it came from, and I know how it exists now. I know that if you're one of us, this love for cars can ebb and flow. It can be very intense when you're buying a car, you're looking to buy a car. That's when it's at its most intense, and you're researching and you're living, you're totally immersed in buying a car. That's when you have the strongest reminder of why you love cars and those early memories. But it wanes, as you get older, you have distractions in your life, you have families, you have difficult times, and sometimes it can become more distant and it takes a back seat. But the crucial thing is, for those that are fully addicted, it's always there. There's a vestige of it always in you. And if it actually leaves, then actually you don't have the bug. Maybe you're lucky. And you might go on to rugby or sailing or something else, and you will completely forget about cars. In which case, you were never infected. And I think you can.
That's correct. That's the test. That's spot on.
I think it's always there for me. It's just, and sometimes it becomes more complicated when it's your job, because if you have a shocking week at your job, you slightly resent the motor car. But it's always been there for me. It's a great thing, and it's the reason why we're here, isn't it? So
yeah,
let's move on to. This is really another emergency within the podcast, okay? So we're a bit confused this week. We've actually discussed this week's racing, but subsequent to that, someone's been announced as team principal of one of the major F1 teams. I don't think any of us saw it coming. So Manish, tell us why you think a Newey Esquire is either an inspired or a worrying choice of team principal for Aston Martin Racing.
I was, again, on our group chat, you raised, I can't remember which of you raised the fact that this perhaps wasn't a good thing. And I was genuinely perplexed by that, because Formula One for me is all about reacting very, very quickly. Now, we've just gone through a very strange period, in my opinion, where I think it's been very stagnant. The rules have been pretty stagnant. The drivers, until this year, remember how stagnant that was? We had, the first time I could ever remember, we had 2 seasons back to back 2 years ago where there were no driver changes. I mean, even the teams just remained completely static. And we have a lot of races, and I do sympathize with Mr. Cooper, kind of feeling like there is this kind of quiet malaise in it. And I think next year is going to be an extraordinary year for lots of reasons. Now, it may well be somebody discovers the magic bullet and they're gone. But I think what's more likely is we're going to see a lot of changes throughout the season as you go in with your blueprint and your computer simulations, and you go in with your sort of version 1 of the car, and you start to realize, oh, hold on, if I tweak this, if I do that, if I do this, if I do that, my car gets quicker. And I think there's going to be a lot of sort of friendly spying, if you like. We often see that in Formula One, where people look at other people's cars, people analyze the data as much as they possibly can. And I'd sort of answer this question within that context. Not taking away anything from Andy Cowell. I mean, there is no doubt he has proven himself to be one of the great engineers. And, and people sometimes, I think a little bit unfairly say about Aston Martin, they're like a modern football club. I think the one they liken it to is Tottenham. They're constantly changing their manager and they're not bringing home any silverware. But I think the last 12 months for Aston have not been great. I think this year is going to be their worst position since they were Racing Point. So and that may or may not be down to Andy. But what I think next year is about is adapting fast. And I think that this is an inspired move because I think Adrian is, I don't know him well. I know him a little bit. The conversations I've had with him are just insanely interesting. Once we were on a plane and he started to ask me about neurology, and I know so little about neurology. And the conversation very quickly moved to what he thinks is a load of bullshit about AI versus machine learning. And he can differentiate the two and understand the two, see the limits of each. You're just dealing with one of the most apprehensive minds that is out there. And you need to feed Adrian. It's like putting coal into a steam engine. And I think there are two brilliant things about this maneuver. One, about this change in personnel. One, as team principal, he has no one to answer to. If they want to do something, he's going to phone Lawrence Stroll and say, here's a quick business plan. This is what we need to do. Whether it's acquiring a piece of land or a piece of kit, he's going to be able to do that. So I think it's going to deal with the resource side. Yes.
Do you not think that he has such power anyway that would have been the case regardless of his
title?
No,
I think the point is he's an operational team principal now. I think what they've done is they've turned him, and that was my second point. The point is his boots are on the ground. If he is looking at everything, understanding everything, so it's my usual long-winded way of saying I think it's inspired. I think he'll be on the ground. He's sensitive to everything, and he'll be able to make changes extremely quickly. So no matter where Aston are at the beginning of next season, look, they've got the Honda engine. Everyone's going around saying, oh, well, the Mercedes, it's a done deal. Petronas have got this fantastic fuel. Who knows? But all I'll say is that I would bet a very, very serious chunk of change that will be the most improved car over next season because he is just that brilliant. He just understands everything. He understands the implications of turning this little dial. He knows exactly what that's going to do to the tires, Neil, or to the exhaust. This is the kind of guy he is. And I think it's inspired. And it's great. Give him some back. He's been building cars, brilliant cars since the 80s. This gives him something new as well. I don't think it's a responsibility that takes him away from making the team better. I think it's a responsibility that makes the team better and him better.
And Neil Clifford, thoughts?
I think Manish is pitching for the movie.
He's already doing it. He's already doing it.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Very offensive.
I don't know anything about this, so I'm going to totally make something up that was just what I thought in my stupid little mind. It looked to me a bit rushed and a bit panicked, but I don't know why.
I can tell you why. That's the thing I sent to everybody last night.
Yeah,
I said, "Tell me this has been hastily announced without telling me it's been hasty." We'll put this thing up on there. So Lawrence is stood there with his hand in his pocket with a folded up piece of paper, not very neatly folded up. He thought they've done this in a hurry.
I think it. Look, Adrian is Elvis Presley. I mean, I think not as if I know anything, but I'm sure that car is going to be much better because he's a genius. I don't know what is. There are different skills in being a team principal, right? In terms of people and doing press interviews and have to smooze people that you actually think's a bit of a tosser or whatever. There are different skills that and hopefully he's got all those skills, that he's left brain and right brain. We don't know that. I'm useless at many things. Hopefully he's good at everything. But I'm not. I don't know. I've never met him, unfortunately. But I imagined there was some sort of like a situation where Lawrence had a few people saying, you know what, Lawrence, you should give Christian the fucking job. He's a winner. He's really good. You should get him back. if you the one thing you've got missing, Lawrence, is a winner at the top. And he's walked into Adrian's office and gone, I've got a fucking great idea, let's get Christian back. I reckon we could get him for 10 million quid. He hasn't got a job. We could give him a little bit of equity, give him a bit less than he wants, pretend it's 1%, but really it's not. It's only sweet equity, so we won't make that much money. He could be our man. And Adrian's gone, are you fucking joking? If you're not bringing. By the way, now we're on the subject, Lawrence. I want that fucking job, and if you don't give it to me, you know what? I might go to Ferrari and fuck. You can all fuck off. And Lawrence has gone. Oh, I made a bit of a schoolboy error here because I really need to keep hold of Adrian. So now I've got to give him the bloody job, haven't I?
I think
That's what I think has happened.
I think there might be some truth in that. Chris Cooper, I'm going to have to hurry this along a bit. So what's your thoughts?
So that's what I thought, which is when I sent that thing last night. When I saw it come up yesterday that Adrian had got it, and then the Aston Martin thing came out with Lawrence standing there with this, the least well-prepared, we know how Lawrence likes to do things, and this is not how he likes to do things. And I sent this to a few people in the know last night to say, they've got to hear quite quickly, haven't they? I was at a breakfast earlier on this week with some people in the industry at Silverstone, and Adrian was there. And the conversation briefly touched on, interesting in your place right now, not a flicker. Nobody knew. If they did, they were hiding it very, very well. So I think it probably did happen really, really quickly. It really interesting because clearly for a while, the idea of Christian being one of the candidates, that's been going for about a week. So something must have happened quite quickly. Either Adrian thought, fuck it, I'll do it. It's a really interesting idea. It's not unprecedented. Ross Brawn, he was a great team principal.
Yes.
Other engineers, team principals. It's not a mad idea. Maybe Andrew thought, hang on a minute, I haven't done that. How hard can it be? There is whispers that Andy Cowell, the erstwhile CEO and team principal, and Adrian didn't quite see eye to eye. And I think possibly, I'm making this up, a bit like Neil. Adrian thought, I'm not sure I want you telling me how to do so. I've done this before. I have, scribbling, shading stuff on I've done all that. I've kind of done. So I think it's amazing. It makes next year look really, really interesting. Really? And the only thing I've got to say is, I had a chat with somebody yesterday. I really feel for Lewis. He's living an absolute appalling agony in Technicolor right now with Ferrari. I think we all feel for him, and he's wearing it on his sleeve, and he's really, really upset. And it's horrible to see, particularly thinking about 21 and what should have happened or could have happened and where he is now. You really, really feel for him. The other thing is, I think Vegas has had its moment. I think all the people that went there in the first year, all the high rollers in the US, they've ticked that box. They won't go back because it's 7 degrees in the paddock. It's fucking cold. And the track shit. It's really, really bumpy. There's no corners. It's 17-hour flight, blah, blah, blah. If you take your wooden Formula One car, it will get shaved off.
I didn't know they were wood.
No. So, what I take from that is Neil's quite right. I'm a Luddite, but there's a skill set required to be a team principal that is different to being a designer, and we're going to find that out next year when he's first put in the pen and is asked an utterly ridiculous question. Will he be able to respect it with an answer the way a Toto does? Think how many ridiculous questions James Vowles or a Toto answer respectfully without going, "Are you fucking kidding me? Don't ask me that, you idiot." That's going to be interesting to see whether he can do that. I think that it does. To see Lawrence stood there with a folded piece of paper with his hand in his pocket is not the way he normally presents anything. So that does indicate it wasn't necessarily the way he wanted to do it. It all adds to the story and the excitement of Formula One, which is great. And you're right about Lewis. The one thing, however bad a season he's having, he's always the last to resort to name calling, isn't he? He could so easily be complaining and really moaning, but he doesn't do that publicly. He does his disappointed dog face that didn't get the bone. But he doesn't, other drivers, not mentioning any names, are much, much faster to criticise the team, and he's not done that. Right, moving on to the two-car garage. So this is from Mark, who owns an Alpina D for Derek 3. Good lad.
Oh,
£10,000 budget per car. First car is the daily. It's got to do 40 miles to the gallon, be able to carry 4, be fun to drive, and a little out of the ordinary. That's a tough one, that one. The second car needs to be something you can drive for the next few years, have some fun, and maybe do the odd track day. But in 3 years' time, when your daughter turns 17 and wants to drive, she can learn to drive and then have it as her first car. I mean, that's a difficult one. So, we'll be outside the parameters here, Sally. I need to hurry things along because I'm being shouted at the moment. So if we go to manage, quickly, please.
Okay, so I found a rather beautiful 1992 Citroën BX for my slightly out of the ordinary car.
Oh.
It actually does 38 miles to the gallon. It's beautiful. It's the 1.4. And you're not going to believe it. It's got less than 14,000 miles on it. And someone's looked after this baby. It's on an auction. And I would actually be super tempted to buy that because I think they're beautiful cars. I know it's not the 1.8 or the 1.9, but it'll do. And the second car, I do love this car. I've always loved this car. It's a 2010 Mazda MX-5. It's the early one. So about 125 horses, 1.8. I think you'd have a lot of fun in that car. I think your daughter would be very safe in that car. So there you go. They're my little brace.
Thank you, Manish.
Well under budget.
Chris Cooper.
So Mark was one of the 350 plus people who very kindly responded to our invitation to send us 2-car garage scenarios. So that's about 7 years worth of podcasts. So we might not be able to get through all of you, but thank you very much. All of it is wonderful. I feel like Tony Hart and all the things on the wall on Play, whatever we're doing. The first, I didn't know this car existed. It is a Peugeot. This goes on the auction 5th of December. Peugeot LNA. I remember the Talbot Samba, which is the version of that. Because there was a family next door, had a girl I was quite interested in when I was growing up. They had one of those. They had Talbot Samba. I reckon that would easily do 40 miles to the gallon. And it's a bit out of the ordinary because I didn't even know it existed. And then I think the bit of fun, track days, gentle track days, 17-year-old daughter, nothing says a little bit of fun more than a frog-eyed sprite in little...
Oh, you buy one of those. You love them so much.
I love them.
We should.
I know I couldn't fit it. So, and that is actually, it's in the auction at the moment. So it'll be probably a day or so after 2 days after we come out. That's what I do. So thank you very much, Mark.
Neil Clifford, remembering that all these vehicles are chosen from the wonderful Car and Classic where I spend most of my spare time. Carry on.
Actually, I might bloody buy this. I don't know if any of you guys saw this. The E34 Estate.
I saw that.
In Orient blue, non-metallic blue. I love the fact that it's the very rare non-sunroof. Obviously, you'd prefer the sunroof, but this is the very rare non-sunroof one. And it's in the auctions. And what a pretty car, that E34. Fuck me. Yeah. It's only on for $6,000 at the minute. Everyone's looking at the budget, so no one's bidding. So you're probably going to get it for $7,000. And then I didn't know that, and you'll do 40 miles per gallon as long as you drive like in 6th everywhere. And then I couldn't really decide. So the option, obviously, when you don't know what to do, the choice is always a little Boxster. I know you'd have to put your daughter on your insurance
forever.
She can get her own insurance. It's a little 2.7. It's not the S. It's not going to be that much insurance. Only about $9,000 for a $4,000 car, but nevertheless, Boxster.
Winner.
I've been similarly lazy to Neil and totally ignored the second question. So I've allowed myself a remarkable insurance premium because I'm going for the cheapest. I just typed in cheapest Cayman. There's a picture of it with its bonnet up. I just think we're going to do so much driving before she has to get her driving license. She's going to get a special deal, or she'll go on my insurance. But there is one Cayman that's at £10,450, done under 100,000 miles. What a car that is! The steering on those is remarkable, and I'm being a bit cheeky. The second car, actually, I'm quite pleased with. So this was a rarity in the UK. The E36 325 TDS
Yes.
Was the 6-cylinder diesel. Sounds
First
great.
diesel in the UK.
Yes, it was. They were really fast when they came out. I think
Ooh.
that if you really tickled it along, would do 40 to the gallon, 4 seats, 72,000 miles for $6,500. If you
Good.
love an E36, that's a great car, isn't it?
That's a lovely car.
Those
Very
are-
niche.
Go and have a
Very-
look at the Car and Classic. I've spent too much time on there this week. I got absolutely lost in a wormhole at an airport. So I feel like my search history has been dominated by Car and Classic. Now,
Could be worse.
it could be. Let's try a little bit of music before we go. Let's go first with Manish.
Oh, I have a very bad taste side to my music, like everybody else. I keep it quiet, and I just do like some 70s kitsch, especially if it's really, really bad and British. And this song is so catchy. It's called Airport by the Motors.
Yes, I
You
love
remember
that.
that? Massive song. Airport.
Airport.
Anyway, please listen to
Airport.
that in the car. Airport, exactly. It's got about 2 lyrics, and they are airport and airport.
Can I just, by the way, Manish, say how reassuring that is? Because you are perceived, quite rightly, as the voice of sophistication when it comes to music. So when you occasionally drop one of those, the rest of us go, okay.
Thank God.
Thank God. I don't feel so guilty about my basic taste in music. Thank you. Neil.
For me, it has to be a Stone Roses song. Rest in peace, Gary Manny Mountfield. Without Stone Roses, we wouldn't have Oasis. And every single song, I really, really, really struggled. I even spent 15 minutes talking about my wife. Which song should I do? I'm going first album. I Am the Resurrection. I mean, it's everything. It's for me, whatever it was, 1989. It's got the Who in it. It's got the Jam in it. It's got Oasis in it, and they were still at school at the time. It's just an amazing album. They only did 2 albums, and we should all listen to the bloody Stone Roses on full volume this week.
I'll second that. Chris Cooper.
The song is Everlasting Love. It's just such a banging, lovely. It's right for our pod today and our love affair and our addiction to cars.
Yeah.
I think the original one was the band Love Affair. There's a version of it in the movie Belfast where it's sung by Jamie Dornan. I think actually sung by Jamie Dornan. And he's singing it to, I forget the actress's name. She was the one who played Ken Miles' wife in the Ford and Ferrari film. They're both done.
Wasn't
Lovely.
lovely.
So I don't want to go Stone Roses. I'm going to go. I listened to this album in America, which is Naz's first album, Illmatic, which is quite a piece of work, isn't it? I'm going to go for The World Is Yours. It's a good tune. Get that album out. I know it's controversial at times, but it's an extraordinary piece of work. So there you have it. That was episode 63, which beats our previous
Eventually we did it.
62. So, hopefully there won't be any great changes in the foreseeable future. We won't have to start again at 0. But if we do, we'll have to get to 64 to beat this one. I'd like to publicly apologise to my fellow podcasters because I slept through 2 alarms and someone bashing on my door this morning, and I really fucked them about. They're such lovely people that they've returned to do this podcast. They could have told me to Foxtrot Oscar, but they didn't, which means they're lovely.
Can we do both?
And we love you all. So this is the end of episode 63. We will see you for 64 next week. Bye-bye. Oh, no, we've just ended. No, come in. What's that? We just finished. Is that a bearing?
I was coming in here to threaten you
A bearing.
with a bearing spacer.
Okay, that's a bearing.
Well, let's hear.
That's a bearing spacer. Look at that. Isn't that lovely?
Jesus Christ.
I'm in trouble with points. I'm going to go and film now. Okay, bye-bye.
Well
everyone. That is the end. Bye-bye.